Dan Mans here, and today we're going to be working on a little blacksmithing project. Something that's easy to do if you're just a beginner blacksmith. Maybe like difficulty scale 1 to 2 out of 5. Really simple, but I found it something useful and really fun to make. All right, here we go. So this is my backyard, and so what we're going to work on today are these little flower pot hangers. So my neighbor put up a fence last year, and so we decorated with flowers. So we're gonna make one of these flower pot hangers. Now there's one there. I've already made 2 of them. Slightly different design, but really very easy. Make a bracket to go on the 4x4 post, and super simple construction. Nice, easy blacksmithing project, and rewarding as well. All right, let's get to work. All right. So everything starts with a drawing, right? All right, so this is a basic drawing of the hanger as we are going to make it. And so this is just basically something I scribbled up, knowing that I wanted to attach it to a 4x4 post. One thing that is a little bit different is that you'll notice that at the hanger, this piece that is here actually doesn't sit flush with the pieces that are here, but actually sits on top of the pieces that are here. So it actually comes up to just underneath this curved piece, and down at the bottom it's attached to here. The other difference that I just you might notice or you might see from the drawing to the actual product or the actual piece is that this curve actually comes down a little bit farther. Okay, that's just the way the first one came out, and I like the way it looked, so I kept it. So basically you need about 60 inches worth of stock. I'm using 3/4 by a 1/2 inch, or I'm sorry, 3/4 by 1/8 of an inch. Anything close to that will work. So you can probably make one of these. I think I've got enough material to make about 6 of them for about 15 bucks, maybe 5 of them for 15 bucks. So there's a metal supermarket store in my town that I use to buy stuff. The cool thing about the design is that, you know, like one of the pieces, this is 18 inches as drawn, but I had a piece of 15 inch or 16 inch laying around, so I used that. You don't have to hold strict to the dimensions. This is not, you don't have the tolerances of this is not the space shuttle, so you don't have to do like super tight tolerances. For instance, this piece right here and here, the C-clamps that go around the 4x4, you can change that up. I made mine 3.5 inches wide, just the size of a 2x4 or a 4x4, and I made them about 3 inches deep. So for a total of 9.5 inches. I think I just made them 10 to round it up. So if you have a piece that's not exactly 10 inches, I mean 8 inches will do. 7 inches you could probably get by with as well. That's one thing about blacksmithing is repurposing stuff that you got lying around. All right, so I know that I have to cut one 5.5 inch piece, one 10 inch piece, one 18 inch piece, one 8 inch piece, and 2 9.5 inch pieces for a grand total of 64, 61.5, 62.5 to be exact, total inches. So that's about what you need, about 64 inches of stock to build this thing. Again, you can fudge it, make it a little bit smaller. If you only got a 5-foot piece, you can make it work. So I'm just going to cut the pieces and then start fabricating, blacksmithing, forging, and getting the thing going. All right, so let's cut our pieces. All right, I've got them all cut except for the 18 inch piece. I like to clean up the edges before I start forging, so that's what we're gonna do next. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is fire up our forge, and then we are going to heat these 2 9.5 inch pieces up, bend them so that we have 3 inches on either side, 9.5 or 3.5 in the middle to go around our 4x4. Do that for those 2 braces. All right, let's fire up the forge. Okay, so the pieces are just about heated up. I've got my vise ready, all the stuff I need ready. The object of this is going to be in one heat to put the piece in the vise. I'm going to measure 3 inches so that once there's 3 inches sticking out, I'm going to bend it to a right angle, flip it over, and do the same thing, 3 inches. That'll give us 3 inches on each side of the C with the 3.5 in the middle. And then come over to the anvil over here and make sure everything is nice and square. And hopefully do that twice and have 2 pieces that are pretty close to identical. Now I just got to add this disclaimer that I am a beginner blacksmith. I consider myself a neophyte. I'm learning. When you're learning, I think it's important to not be afraid to make mistakes. I think it's important as a beginner to always be learning, looking to other blacksmiths who are better than you are at the skill and at the trade, and learn from them. Okay, so without any further ado, let's pull a piece out, try to get this done. Okay, for my next piece, I'm going to work on that 18-inch piece, that long piece that on the drawing is right here. And for that, I've created a jig. Now, you don't have to create a jig. You can do the work on your anvil, size it up, get it close to your drawing. Because I was planning on making at least 3 of these, I decided to make a jig. I had a piece of an old fence post that I used, piece of wood, just cut a hole out, drilled some screws in to the basic shape, and then what I do is put this in the vise, heat up the piece, wrap it around here. I pour water on the wood. Obviously it still burns a little bit, but that's okay. So anyways, throw water on the wood just as we're about to start, and then bend it so that they're all pretty close to being the same. If you're doing, multiple pieces, lots of pieces, and you want everything to be as close to the same as possible, a jig is a good thing. You don't need a jig if you're doing a one-off, but I created one, so I'm gonna put that in the vise, heat up the 18-inch piece, and get rocking. Part of blacksmithing that's fun is figuring things out, and we all deal with limitations, whether it's the size of our shop, the amount of tools we have, budget, all that kind of stuff. So one of the things that I have to deal with is a small shop, so I cannot do this in one fell swoop. Basically, I don't have enough room on my bench, between my bench and my wall, for that 18-inch piece. So I got to start out here, bend it to a curve, put it back in the forge, put the piece back in the forge, spin the whole jig around, and finish it. But that's what I got to do. Limitations. All right, so that long piece that we just bent turned out pretty good. Just got to do a little touch up on it. So that piece is right now in the forge. This piece right here is the 5.5-inch long piece that goes up here. So it's a real simple curve. I'm going to throw it in the forge right now, bend it on the anvil, and take care of that. Okay, so that is pretty much it on the forging. So the rest of it is really just mechanical work, putting stuff together, welding, grinding, all that stuff. If you wanted to, like I mentioned earlier, you could take your 8-inch piece and forge weld it to these 2 pieces. So that might be a good thing if you're just learning how to forge weld, you want to see how to do it. You could always do that. Like I said, for me it's about time, and it's just easier for me to weld it. So that's what I'm going to do next. Weld those 2 pieces together, and then eventually we'll melt. This is still hot, but this will go, we'll weld that on next, weld the 10-inch piece on, and weld the little guy on. And then we will drill holes and then paint it, and should be ready to go. Thank you for joining us today for today's project. If you want to watch the rest of this project, see how we finished it, click the link that's over here. Also consider hitting the like button down below if you enjoyed it, and consider subscribing to the channel for more blacksmithing and bladesmithing projects. Thank you very much.